Rob and Sophie getting hit on for a possible three-way on camera was not what I had on my bingo card. Let's discuss. Hi guys, welcome back to Nikki Faces Reality. I'm Nikki. If you're here, it's because we're going to discuss Rob and Sophie from season 10 of 90 Day Fiance. So a quick recap just because I haven't touched on them in a while. In the last episode, Sophie finally came clean to Rob about her identity. She identifies as bisexual. It's something that she's been struggling to come to terms with it for a while, and she finally feels secure to share that with her fiance. And it went as well as you would imagine it. Rob immediately made it about himself. What he decided to really focus on was that Sophie is very jealous. She doesn't like him to look at other women, really communicate with other women. So he's like, so this whole time you've been looking at other women? How's that fair? And then he did this whole thing where he was like, well, if you get to be with somebody, then we're going to be with her together. And she's like, you're gross. She's made it clear from day one that nowhere interested in him being involved with someone else. She wants him to be strictly monogamous with her. And she did a really good job in letting him know, like, I'm letting you know this. It's not like a big reveal, like, oh, I want to be with other people. It's just letting you know who I am fully because I've come to terms with it. So I want you to know this. But I am in no way trying to be with other people. I just want you to know that this is who I am on the inside. Of course, he, went on to compare her sexuality to his need to be a bit of a gigolo. Sexuality doesn't mean, oh, because I'm into guys or girls, I'm going to look at every single guy or every single girl. That's not how it works. I also just don't like that he conveniently leaves out the fact that the reason she is hypersensitive to him even mentioning the idea of a threesome or the idea of being involved with someone else is that this man has cheated on her twice. So she's like, don't even joke around like that. That's not why I told you this. I would love to know what your thoughts were on that conversation. What I got from it is that she continues to choose him. She just needed to tell her fiance because then that makes it real for her and she's found peace with it. That's all it meant. They have this conversation before they were supposed to go ring shopping, and that experience you guys saw went terribly. The second-hand embarrassment that I experienced watching that, he is super cheap and has like a chip on his shoulder about it. There is nothing wrong with having a budget. However, there's a way to make your partner feel special and worthy to you while still being on a budget. But he literally went in there and was like, I want the cheapest ring. He's like, all of this is a little too expensive. The way that Sophie is one of God's strongest soldiers, because the way that I would have left, it was just tacky. It was classless. And it just felt like a lot of the way that he moves is just so callous. But they left with a ring and Sophie was happy, but it was clear that they were very, very tense. So in this latest episode, we catch up with them. I guess it's like the morning post the horrific wedding ring shopping experience. And Sophie is a little cranky because she's like, I woke up cold, we need a duvet. And so he is upset because he's like, you're being negative. We don't need a duvet. You always need something. And a big thing that Sophie said is that he is so stuck in the way that he lives that he hasn't made space for her. And she's like, I came here to live with you, but you haven't bothered to try to make this a comfortable experience for me. All that I'm asking for is to not be cold when I sleep. And this man fixes his mouth to say, well, you always need something. It's the duvet, it's the new house. You always want something. And for all of you that are new here and that may just be jumping into this, Rob lives in a studio that doesn't have a bathroom inside. The bathroom is in the courtyard. And there's nothing wrong with having humble beginnings, but he obviously feels insecure by his state of living. And so anytime his fiance that just moved from the UK to be here says anything about it, he thinks that it's an attack towards him, and it's not. She's just like, I want better for us. Like, what can we do so that we can get to a place where we can move? He's very much like, well, this is what you get. This is what you signed up for. Like, just rough about it. It's obvious that it's a defense mechanism, but that gets old really fast. And from episode 1, he's made it seem like she was high maintenance, and she may be high maintenance with her personal upkeep, but she has been slumming it with him. I say slumming it more so because of his character, not because of his house. But from the beginning, he's been calling her high maintenance, and what we've seen with our own eyes on camera, wanting a duvet, wanting indoor plumbing, that's not being high maintenance. Those are pretty standard things in most places. And I think that they would get a lot further if he switched his lens of, she's not saying I'm not good enough. She's saying that we can be more comfortable. But what he's hearing right now is, oh, she thinks I'm not good enough. My house isn't good enough. My covers aren't good enough. And that's just a tough way to live. And I totally get not wanting to feel called out, and maybe, they're spending so much time together. Maybe it's happening like 5 times a day, and like I can understand how that can eat at you. But diminishing your partner's needs in the ways that he does it is problematic. And we see them go to a brewery because Sophie's like, we need to get out of the house, we need to work out this drama. And so we see them share some laughs. We see them, break the ice a little bit. It's pretty surface level, but they seem to be pleased with what's happening. And so this opens the floor for them to really get into it. And Rob says that he thinks that most of this bickering is happening because of the time constraint. They're feeling the pressure. And part of me got that of, I do think that he needs to take a little more responsibility for his role in the fights, but I can definitely understand how if you have a 90-day window and you have a fight and it feels big, I can definitely understand how you would be like, am I sure that I want to marry this person? Like, I get that. And Sophie says that they've been bickering a lot and that they need to hold on to the good times, and so they should create more good times by having more date nights. And of course, Rob immediately is like, I don't know about that. And she's like, yeah, like it's obviously like working for us to go out. And he does a good thing where he goes, well, what do you mean sometimes? Like, what does sometimes mean to you? Like, give it a number. And I'm glad that he did ask her to be specific. So she tells him twice a month, and he's like, I could do that. And good for them. They agreed on one thing, right? And so Rob's request, now that she's given the request of date night, his request is that she remain positive no matter what's happening. I don't think that's a long-lasting solution. I don't think that forced positivity is healthy. There should definitely be a level of respect as you're navigating negative emotions. I also just don't think that he takes accountability in his role in those arguments. The arguments aren't happening because Sophie woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Like, it takes 2 to escalate things. So, the biggest WTF moment with these two in this episode is this next scene. We see them at a sex shop, which is cool. Apparently, they've been really struggling in that department. And by struggling for them, I think she said they hadn't been intimate in 2 weeks. They've been really stressed. And so they're going around, looking at toys. And Rob is all like, I've already explored a lot of these toys, so I'm just, I don't know if Sophie can keep up. And I know that he's saying that because he thinks he's, cool and smooth and a player, but Rob is like 10 years older than Sophie. So him being more sexually experienced isn't as impressive as he thinks it is. It's like, you chose this young woman, like, work it out. What did you guys think about that moment? I thought it was weird that he was making it like a competitive of like, I know more than you moment. It was strange to me, especially because they're at the sex shop to find something that will bring them closer. And so they're going around, and there's a sales associate who has her eye on these two, and she's showing how this particular toy works for Rob's parts. And Rob is excited. The sales associate is really vibing with Rob and Sophie, and so she starts asking them questions. She's like, "Oh, so do you guys usually explore things in the bedroom? Like, you're looking for new experiences?" And then she looks at them and she goes, "You know, you guys are really hot." And they're both blushing, like, "Thank you, you too." So she's like, "Well, since you're interested in incorporating new things, are you down to explore?" And then she like basically refers to herself. She definitely proposed a threesome. And Rob is like, "I'm gonna let you answer that" to Sophie. And that was the wrong answer, baby. According to Sophie. Sophie was like, "No, you answer. I would like to hear what you have to say." So it's obvious that this is a moment that Sophie wanted Rob to show her that he chooses her. Which is interesting because it's not like this girl was just going after Rob and then Rob needs to be a loyal man. No, this was a proposition for both of them as a couple, but Sophie saw this as an opportunity to test her cheating man. And listen, I get Sophie's intent. I get that, jealous because she's been betrayed by Rob, and after their conversation where she came out to him, she doesn't want him to think that he has permission to be with people just because she's bi. And so she wanted him to like have this, big performance of like, "You're my fiance, I choose you and only you." That didn't happen. And honestly, as it was happening, I was like, did the producer set this up? Because it's brilliant. But if they didn't, that saleswoman has some balls. She is bold. I was like, but y'all, Sophie is pissed because her random relationship test flopped. I can't believe she's making me defend Rob. When that woman proposed a threesome, Rob didn't insinuate any direction. Obviously, he looked flattered, but he wasn't like sizing up the saleswoman. He just stepped away. And Sophie's not letting this go. This test that no one saw coming, she's interpreting it as he clearly wants to sleep with other people. This is not okay. He has to win my trust back. And so, you guys, they're having a yelling match in the middle of this sex shop. Can you imagine going into a sex shop, trying to get you a little toy, a little edible panty, and this couple is fully yelling at each other? I would assume that that sex shop has bad juju, and I would not want to buy anything from there. That's not the energy that you want at a sex shop. They should have gotten kicked out. She wants him to apologize, and he begins to, and then he's like, "You know what? I'm not going to." I hate to say it. I agree that he doesn't have to apologize. I think that she should communicate her insecurity, communicate what her expectations are, but to give someone a test like that, you're setting them up to fail. Be honest. Have y'all set up your partners with a trap like that? I know you have. What do you guys think about these two? Because I don't see it for them. Let me know what you think in the comments, child, because I think that these two are equally responsible for the state of their relationship. I do think that they crave the same things, but they don't know how to communicate with each other. Always comes down to communication, and you would think that it's the simplest thing, and it's honestly the hardest thing to do. Because Rob is defensive and ego driven. Sophie seems to be the passive type, but then she lets things build up, and everything she says has like a double meaning. Everything that she says is charged. So then we find ourselves in situations like the ones that we saw, where she's setting him up for a test in the middle of a sex shop for a situation that he did not foresee. I would be very surprised if they make it to the altar. We've only seen like 2 scenes of them happy. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far, please do subscribe and like so that you don't miss any of my recaps. I hope to see you in the next one.